Hey guys, and welcome to my latest and greatest film review video. My name is Jessica Dwyer, and I am part of the Disney 62 crew. So, let's talk The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man was a fantastic movie. It is a great remake. I am a huge fan of the Universal Monsters films, and if you can't tell by like the bust of Boris Karloff right there and other accoutrement behind me. But I'm a huge Universal Monsters nut, and The Invisible Man is what we would call a supremely well done remake. They take the core creep factor of the book and the original film. They take the name Griffin and they made him a evil mad scientist, and they turned it on its head, making it a film about the psychological destruction of a woman by this crazy man who is obsessed with her, and how he uses his fantastic intellect and abilities to pursue her and make her life a living hell. Now, I'm going to go into spoilers in this. I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. There will be spoilers in this review because there are some things I want to talk about that I found brilliant, and I can't talk about them without having some bit of spoiler there. Hey, Zinni. So, Elizabeth Moss and Oliver Jackson Cohen are just amazing in this. Even though Oliver is not seen for most of the film, because he is in fact the Invisible Man. He actually, because I did interview him, and I also interviewed Lee Winnell for Horror magazine for coverage of this. I got to find some insight with them that I thought was just fantastic. And one of the insights was Oliver would show up on set when he wasn't on screen to add, to have somebody for Elizabeth to play off of, and have him just there as a presence. I thought that was great. That's really good acting. That's a good way of helping your fellow actors when you don't have to. And it was just a really great to hear that he was that invested in this. Elizabeth Moss is just amazing in this role. She looks like she is kind of like in that Toni Collette type of vibe, where like she was in Hereditary, where she's literally like a walking nerve. She's just jittery. She's scared, but she's tough and she's tiny. I didn't realize just how short Elizabeth Moss was until I watched this movie, and she's very small. But her performance is fantastic, and what Lee Winnell did here, and what was so great, just from the start, from the get-go, is he utilized sound really, really well. And from the beginning, when she escapes, it's fantastic to hear nothing, like you, because she's trying so hard to be quiet while she escapes, that it freaked me out. She kicks this dog food bowl, and the sound is just so massively loud, and it tells you, and it speaks to the level of anxiety that she has while she's leaving, because any noise might wake him up, kind of a thing. And he's just vicious when he runs after her, and you see that in the trailer, so that's not so much of a spoiler, but we're going to get into some spoilers. There's a lot of imagery and a lot of callbacks, and what I found within the movie was how well matched Adrian and Cecilia are to each other. And there's sort of like there's a lot of mirror image type of thing going on with them, which is interesting because the whole basis of this, and the whole thing that Adrian does, is optics. He's a scientist who works in the field of optics, which is why he's able to do what he does, and create the invisibility that he does. And that's kind of neat that follows along with what happens with these two. And you've got you've got Cecilia doing things that kind of mirror what Adrian has done. One thing being, there's a scene where Adrian, his whole thing is that he's convinced people that he's killed himself by slitting his wrists. And you see this in an image in the film. Well, what Cecilia does in one scene to perpetrate her escape is cutting her wrist. So there's that. Maybe she picked that up from him. Who knows? There's also some instances with Adrian and Cecilia and how they um, deal with some people. I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to spoil it, but how Cecilia deals with Adrian and how Adrian has dealt with something as well in the film mirrors each other, and that's definitely specific. But she's also very tough and very smart, and that's part of the reason why you figure out that Adrian is enraptured with her is because she was strong enough not to need him. And you can tell by the way that Adrian's brother acts that Adrian's always been surrounded by people that want his money and that wants to use him for their own gain. This doesn't make him any less of a dick, but it's part of the reason why Adrian is so enamored with her is that she doesn't need him. She leaves him, and you can tell that if he had not been a controlling piece of shit, which is what he is, that there could have been something there that she really did care about him, but it becomes this ugliness and horrible relationship, and he's controlling to the point that just he's a monster. And that's one of the things that I asked Lee Winnell about, and he said yes, and agreed with the theory, which is Adrian's actual camouflage is his real face. That the fact that he can become invisible and he is the Invisible Man. The Invisible Man is the stalker, crazy psychopath that is hidden behind this veneer of gorgeous hunk who's rich, and that's what that's his real self is this the ability to control and get away with all of these things, and that's really who he truly is. That's the Invisible Man, not the unseeable thing. So it's a neat. There's so many levels to it that really work. Um, Another thing that I found out. Um, Another thing that I found out about too was within um, in the soundtrack and in the score that Oliver recorded breathing that is layered within the soundtrack. So even when he's not on screen, even when you don't know if he's in the room or anything at all, there is a presence that you may not even hear, but you subconsciously know is there. And so there's this layer within the sound of him breathing, which is super creepy and well done. The other thing that I picked up on when I saw the film was they mentioned the thing about jellyfish. There's a whole thing about jellyfish within the movie. Um, Cecile calls Adrian's brother the jellyfish version of him, which jellyfish are see-through. They're predators, but they're see-through and invisible almost with how they're sheer and clear. One of the other characters, the little girl in the film, is wearing a shirt, and I noticed there's a jellyfish on it. So there's that little thread throughout as well about invisible predators, which I thought was really, really interesting and well done. Lee did just a fantastic job with this movie. It's just so good in terms. It's not overtly bloody or anything like that. It's visceral. The acting is just spot on amazing. The concept and the look of of it is just great. The way it's shot is creepy, and well done. And I really, really loved how it just played out. I mean, from the minute it gets you, you're intense. You don't know what's going to happen, and then there's no jump scares. Really, it's more just you're always on edge, just like Cecilia. So it's really, really great. Um, I did have to call out one thing that I think is just hilarious and makes me feel so effing old. If any of you have ever seen Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is the film, the Die Hard movie with Sam Jackson, you'll remember a little kid named Raymond that talks to Sam Jackson's character Zeus and interacts with him. Well, the Aldous Hodge is the big guy, the big friend guy that helps Cecilia out. He's the dad in the movie. He's the cop. That's Raymond. So Raymond is like this tall in Die Hard with a Vengeance, and in An Invisible Man, he's like 6 foot something tall and just beautiful. And I'm like, oh my God, I am so goddamn old. Anyway, I just had to share that. But The Invisible Man is just fantastic. It's a beautifully shot, as I said, great acting, great special effects. It did not have a big budget. It's not a big budget film, and that's kind of like the magic. It had a $7 million budget. It's already made that back as of yesterday. So, like the day it opened, it's already made over its budget back. It's super great. Go see it. Go see it with an audience so you can feel that tension running through there together. The sound is part of the appeal of this movie, because it utilizes it in sort of a way with one sense gone where you can't see him, you have to hear. And that's a really fantastic way of doing it. So Viva Lee Winnell, who just got a first look deal with Blumhouse now, which is great. They need to do all of his movies. Anything Lee Winnell wants to do, they should do. Just putting that out there. Just anything he's got, let him do it because he does them good. How did you feel about the scenes where Cecilia is thrown and dragged around a kitchen and dining room? It reads unsettling to me. It's supposed to unsettle you. This brings up one thing that I wanted to talk about because I've seen the rumbles of it, and it's pissing me off. I'm a girl. If you can't tell, probably, I don't know if you can, but I'm a girl, and this is pissing me off. I've already read things about this movie being some sort of misogynistic wet dream, and it is not that. It's written by a white man and directed by a white man, and I know that Addo is already making people pissed off anymore that's a thing. Oh, look, it's a white guy who is beating up on a woman in a movie that he wrote and directed. That's a misogynistic wet dream right there, baby. No, that is not the point of this, and you do not speak ill of Lee Winnell about this movie. What this movie is about, and if you take the time to see it and have half a brain when you see it, it is an empowering movie about a woman who is living through hell, where when people don't believe her about what's happening, and in the end, she wins. It is about a survivor, and that is what this movie is about. Because you are watching this and you're rooting for Cecilia. You know she's not wrong. There are points that you think that she might be kind of losing it, but then you realize, nope, I shouldn't have doubted her at all. She's right. And you see it happening on screen, and you get so frustrated because you feel the same frustration as her. But for people to just purely go into this and think that Yes, it's about triumph. It's about overcoming. I mean, for the love of God, if you know anything about Elizabeth Moss and the work that she's done in The Handmaid's Tale, why do you think she would take a role in a movie that was just to be a basically a abuse porn? What? What is wrong with you? So I just want to call that out ahead of time because I'm starting to already see it, and it's pissing me off really bad. And I don't like people speaking ill of people that I like and I respect and I like whose work I love and think is great. And if you know anything about Lee Winnell, you would know that that is not the case. And I will fight and die on that hill. So, yeah, if you see anybody out there, male, female, saying that this is some misogynistic wet dream type of film, it is not. It is a movie that takes a wonderful story from the universal horror genre and creates a new parable around it, keeping the core of that story about avarice taking hold of a man who has power and how that power corrupts and how a woman is and then taking that whole storyline of a woman who is trying to get out of an abusive relationship and uh, utilizes these two things together in a brilliant way. And if you don't understand that, you have an issue and you need help because that's what this is. And it's fantastically done. It's a modern parable of an old story redone in the modern setting. And it's really great. And that is not some misogynistic wet dream type of film. So if you're thinking that, then you need to get your head checked. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of ranty, rambly review. But I really loved Invisible Man. You should check it out. If you want to read my interviews with Oliver Jackson Cohen, who is fantastic, by the way, and is the love child of Dan Stevens and Chris Evans. Special effects are great. They're limited. They don't need a lot. The whole, sorry, I'm having to answer Zenny here. The whole point of this movie is not special effects. It's the things that you can't see that can hurt you. The tension is the special effect. That's what it is. Doesn't need a lot. The tension is the acting is the special effect. That's what you take away from this movie. So, yeah, thank you. If you guys, Oliver Jackson Cohen is the love child of Dan Stevens and Chris Evans. You're not going to prove me wrong there. He is fantastic. If you don't know who he is one of the brothers in The House on Haunted Hill, or I always say that, The House on Haunted Hill, The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. He is the brother who is the addict. So yeah, go check out The Invisible Man. Give it your love. It deserves it. It needs to, it's already a hit. People love it. You should too. Go check it out and enjoy. No, it was not at Comic-Con. It was not at Comic-Con this year. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you soon, and I will be back with another review for you. See you guys.